Hey everybody, I'm going to share something with y'all for one purpose and one purpose only. It's just to let people know that if they have a lot of guilt that they're holding on to and a lot of shame, that they can release that and that they can forgive themselves. When I was 19, 20 years old, I was gifted a car. It was an inheritance from my grandmother, my dad's mom, 2008 Pontiac G6. I was strung out on drugs at the time. And I was tricked into letting a crack dealer borrow the car for crack. And about 6 months later, I was living in a homeless shelter, and the man who ran the house, Wes Bramlett, came to me and showed me a news report of a man, and it was the man I lended the car to, who had gotten involved in a police chase. And there was a 25-year-old girl in the passenger seat with him. She died, and they hit a minivan, and a 12-year-old girl died. And if I'd have never gave him that car, that would have never happened. If I'd have never been on drugs, that would have never happened. That guilt and that shame almost destroyed me. A couple years later, me and my wife got pregnant, and it ended in an ugly, ugly, ugly abortion, loss of a child. And guess what? It was 100% my fault, because I wasn't taking responsibility for my life. I wasn't taking responsibility for my child or my wife, future wife at the time. All I cared about was me, selfish. A couple years later, we got pregnant again while we were using. I did not care. I knew the baby wouldn't make it. I was so selfish and sick. A couple weeks later, we were at the hospital. Corby had to go in. It was during COVID. And I was by myself in the car. All I could care about was drugs. All I was thinking about was drugs. All I was doing was making phone calls to drug dealers. And then she calls me as I'm about to pull out to go get more drugs. Told me she lost the baby, and she lost it and started crying. I sat there in silence for 10 or 20 minutes and told her to come out as soon as she could. I made a decision that day. It wasn't the last day I ever used drugs. 2 weeks later was. I made a decision that day that I was never going to allow my drug use to cause the death of another innocent human being. I also made a choice that I would never leave Corby, because she had always been there for me. I love her so much, and I caused her so much pain. I caused a lot of people a lot of pain, and I am sorry for that to everybody that I did. But I have to get this message across to you that you are not your past. Every single person, whoever, no matter what you've done, what you're responsible for, you can get better. You can release that guilt, that shame. Your past does not equal your future. I know it sounds cliche, but man, is it true.